Go to Rheinhaus, get a Wiener beer. Wiener Schnitzel. Get a put a tot. Pop up. Lofa and gonna be at the Rheinhaus. Pop up.
All right, it is Oktoberfest, is it not? Is it still October?
Pop. How do you spell Rheinhaus? RHINEHAUS. I think, right? Spelled the German way. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well then that's the German way. I'm so glad we're recording because this is totally the show right now. Producer Katie, where's the info for me that I can tell the people when we officially start the show? Can you pull that up? You ready to actually start the show, Lofa?
Hit the theme song.
Let's get this crowd going now. Come on, get him up. Hawks on three. 1, 2, 3.
Lofa Tatupu is up in the mix.
Go Hawks.
I'm just about that action, boss.
Takes the snap. He's going to throw down the middle. What a catch!
It's intercepted by Lofa Tatupu.
Holy catfish!
Hey, that's great football now.
It's going to work now. Let's keep playing.
Who's got my back? I got your back.
That's Lofa.
My player.
Trouble plant. Thunder. On one. Ready. Play.
Russell looking.
Go Hawks.
Russell scrambling.
Go Hawks.
Pump faking.
Go Hawks.
Still looking. Now he spins out.
We got to fly, baby.
35-40. Down the far sideline. He's still moving. He's going to go. 20. 10. They do it again. Touchdown. Seahawks.
Seahawks podcast on the Believe Sports Network. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Seahawks super fan Brett Davern, and he is Seahawks legend Lofa Tatupu. Lofa, what's up, buddy?
How you doing?
I'm all right. We'll get into the game in a second. Everybody listening to the show, big announcement. There is a listener party with Lofa and I in Seattle in person coming up this weekend on Sunday. If you want to watch some football with your man Lofa Tatupu or me or producer Katie, actually, we will all be in Seattle live and in person at the Rheinhaus. REIN, right? No, RH.
H is silent.
INE. How do you spell this thing? I don't know. Whatever. We're gonna be somewhere drinking beers.
That's what you should have led with. Come drink some beers. I don't know what a listener party is. It's a watch party. We're gonna watch some football games. Maybe talk some football. I don't. Yeah. So, Rheinhaus, everybody. Don't listen to anything Brett said. Rheinhaus Sunday.
We're going to be there at 1 p.m. It's RHEIN space HAUS, and it's in Seattle. It's a bar. Great people over there. They got tons of TVs and great food and great beers and all of that.
Awesome.
And
it's an awesome atmosphere.
Lofa and producer Katie and I will be there in person. We're going to be giving out prizes between quarters and having a raffle and donating money to charity and giving
playing
out
quarters.
T-shirt, believe in Seahawks T-shirts and all kinds of stuff. So come on out to the
play some drinking games
this Sunday, 1 p.m. I hear you, and I'm also on board with all of that. You guys also can hit us up on the email anytime, SeahawksPod@gmail.com. Follow us on all social media at Believe in Seahawks for all of the details, and come on out this weekend and say hi, and we'll fist bump and whatever else you want. I don't know. If you got a mask on, I'll kiss you on the mask with my mask. Is that a thing? I don't know. Is that weird? Producer Katie just gave me a look. She's shaking her head. Whatever. In any case, come on out and let's have some fun. Hey, sponsor for the show. Our sponsor, betonline.ag. Let's go over here to the email. Jimmy Betts was sending in Week 7's opening lines. The Seahawks this coming weekend on Monday Night Football, actually, against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are already minus 3.5 for the game. That's an early line. So get over there and put your wagers down at betonline.ag. Your online wagering experts. Use our promo code
Believe 50. I don't know. I read the email. Was it Believe 50 or is it just Believe? You're confusing me now.
There's a Believe 50 for a 50% welcome bonus. BLEAV.
You tried to trick me. Yeah. I read that email. Take that, Brett.
Lofa, all joking aside, now we have to talk about the game that happened against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. I mean, there's our headline. It'll go up in a moment, I'm sure. The Seahawks lose to the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. And, buddy, I didn't even have to change our headline that much. I just sort of deleted a few words from last week and then put in the Steelers name. And I'm getting sick of it. What's going on? What happened?
Hey, I think I'm probably the only one that came out of there not just optimistic, but proud of our guys. I'm telling you, we fought tooth and nail. Yeah, I'm going to pull you over to the bright side, man.
All right.
There's a lot of great things that happened.
Right.
Well, I could go through. I'm sure we will go through them all. I didn't read the rundown, sorry, but so the run game got established, and you know what? It's just. That's a tough defense to run against and pass. They're one of the best defenses all around. And we took it to them up front. And that was the money we invested in the offensive line. Well, they earned their pay that day. I mean, protection, yeah, there were 5 sacks. There was a couple times maybe held on the ball a little too long. I don't remember anybody just coming scot-free. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Alex Collins, 5 yards of carry. Homer, he broke that long one, so it ended up like 15 yards of carry. And then DJ Dallas had like 6 or 7 a carry. It's whoever you want, we had it. And the frustrating part, it's got to be frustrating for the offensive line. It's like, yo, we could do this. We just did this against the number 4 defense in the league. Let us do this. Yeah. And you just got to trust that it's going to at least, it's just like Derrick Henry. You saw him last night. Again, it was 2 yards, 4 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, 60 yards. And, I think Homer's got the speed to break one of those. Alex will get you probably 40 before he gets caught, but it's there to be had if we just trust it. And so that was one of the best things I saw.
Well, we'll get into the specifics in a second, but your overall impression of the game as a whole is that you're not actually that disappointed and you might even be a little bit encouraged.
Yeah. And then defensively, we did what Brett mentioned. I'm going to give you credit right here, my man. Kudos to you.
All right.
Brett, a couple episodes ago when, we didn't know what we were doing with Jamal, Brett's like, why don't we just send him every play? And I was like, it's kind of what you have to do, because we've seen the miscues in coverage. And then, of course, we have a clip to go over a little later, but you have to. And, he did great. He had several tackles for a loss, put pressure on them, whether it was the run game or pass. And, and he did. He had that nice funnel shot on that toss. So I wasn't, other than a couple plays, I wasn't too upset. I know there's a big one that
we're going to get into Jamal Adams later. All right. Let's start going through my list here.
Let's go through the list.
Let's start right with the most important position, some say, in all of sports, the quarterback.
Middle linebacker. Oh.
It was Geno time. Geno was 23 of 32 in his first start in I don't know how long in the NFL, a long time. He had 209 yards and a touchdown, his first touchdown pass, and also a very long time to Will Dissly. But just in general, overall, Geno looked great to me. I thought Geno, especially, you don't know what you got. You've had Russell Wilson for 149 starts in a row. But I thought Geno looked good. How do he look to you?
Geno looks solid. Of course, he wants that last play back. He's even said it. He put the blame on him. He said, I got to protect the ball. He does. But that's also why, Watt's the highest paid defensive player. He was like damn near triple teamed on that play. So I don't really fault Geno. That was a phenomenal defensive play by one of the best players in the league. Other than that, Geno, he hit, the targets that he needed to, got the ball out quick. Just a couple times he probably held on to it a little too long, longer than he wanted to. And that's where I was hoping to see, his legs play a factor. And especially like on that play right there where the fumble, there was I think it was a max protection, 2 people in the route, and both were double covered. So he made the right read, just did not. Fundamentally had to be more sound with the ball.
Got to tuck it away a little bit sooner. Yeah. Totally. Nice touchdown pass to Dissly. Nice play there in the red zone. He was wide open. A good play also to Gerald Everett that really sparked the offense getting going in the second half. And it leads me to ask the question, Lofa. Why do we always have these great catching and receiving tight ends? But Gerald Everett, looks just like DK Metcalf. They're both like so big, you know, and physical, athletic, all of the above. We had Jimmy Graham here for a long time, of course, right? But it's just weird because like the perception is that we don't really use them all that often. Why? Why are they not in the game plan more often?
Yeah, I mean Russ never really did, and and Geno doesn't. So I don't know if it's like a scheme thing, but Waldron is coming from a place where they used Everett and they used Higbee quite a bit. So I don't know, and maybe that's just a quarterback decision. But yeah, it's those are mismatches. The tight end are the biggest and the strongest. And, they got that. A lot of them have basketball background, and athleticism in them where they can box out. Even if they don't have separation, which is what a quarterback wants to see when he throws the ball, I remember John Carlson just boxing me out in practice and just putting his hand out here, like Hasselbeck, throw it here. So, I don't know. For whatever reason, they're not utilized as much as they should be.
Well, that Gerald Everett play really did help get everything going in the second half, but we got to talk about it again, man. It's like a tale of two halves with the offense sometimes. I think they had 65 yards for the entire first half. Mm-hmm. Waldron, I mean, that was the big storyline coming into the season. What is up with the offense, and why can't they be consistent for 4 quarters?
Yeah, I think when you get to slow starts, because like you said, we see 2 different teams. Either they come out blazing or they're just a lull, until the second half. And if you don't get through that first 15 in the first quarter, so you have 15 scripted plays, if you don't get through that, you never really get into a rhythm. And if you only have about 20 or so plays in the first half, which I don't know what we had, we ended with like 60, then there's no rhythm. There's no, chemistry. You don't know what to do, what's working, what's not, because you haven't had enough time to like really be out there and figure out what they're trying to do to attack you. I did like that Waldron, he started off with several empty sets, and so you could see how they were adjusting. And I mean, I always thought that, New England was a team that used to do that to a lot back in the day, because they want to know if you're in man or zone and, what the count is and what your reaction to empty is. Usually you're either going to have to blitz or you're going to have to play max coverage. And so I did like that wrinkle. It was something we hadn't really seen in the first 4 games.
Okay. To wrap up the Geno bit a little bit, how much of an impact was it having Russ out? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, like, how much different do you think that game would have gone if Russ would have been playing? To me, I don't know how much really Russ could have done differently. Like, I think a lot of those sacks might have still been sacks anyway and things like that.
I think, it's tough. You got, how do you say, okay, we went to overtime and potentially should have won that game, right? So how do you say that Russ doesn't win that game? The only reason I say he probably wouldn't have won that game is because we wouldn't have ran the ball 30 times. He would have thrown it 50, 60, and who knows? Yeah, he would have kept us in it, but, it's just you never know with that defense and how they get after you. If, the times he holds on to the ball, I mean, I'm saying maybe 1 out of every 4 plays is a deep ball to Lockett or Metcalf, but I really don't think that he would have impacted it as much as a lot of people think, even despite his quickest to 100 wins.
I didn't put this in the rundown, but because of the picture we just put up, we put up a picture of Russell in the pregame and all that, and with the cast on and stuff. But he went through this like epic pregame solo mental rep workout, I guess, and they made a big deal of it on the coverage. I didn't put this in the rundown, but what'd you make of that solo shadow boxing, shadow football performance?
I mean, I don't know. It's Russ. What'd you make of that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. This is very Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
people on Twitter get mad at me because I call him like a dork, kind of, But, like, guys, he is. Remember the time I said he's not cool? People came after me on Twitter like, he won a Super Bowl. How dare you? I'm like, look, I'm not saying he's not a good football player or anything, or that I don't want him as a quarterback. But, guys, he's not very cool.
It's not your first choice to get a beer with?
Dude, like, Seahawks.com wrote a whole article about that mental rep section and then, like, or session. And then, Collinsworth. And they made, like, a big deal out of it on the broadcast. And, like, we're talking about how awesome it was. And I was sitting at home just going, like, it's lame, dude. It's so lame.
The first guy on IR, and I think I saw this a couple places, to go out for the coin toss. So your boy, even when he's hurt, he makes history. He just smashes new records.
Yeah. Seemed a bit like when I was supposed to be doing homework in my room and I would lay out all my books on the bed, but like I was playing video games and then my mom would open the door. I'd be like, of course I'm doing homework. Like it was a little showy is all I'm saying.
It was yeah.
We get it. We love you. We know you're dedicated. We understand. Just take a chill pill, dude. Calm down.
Yeah. I mean, so wait, I'm saying, do you think he only did it because the cameras were on? Because I don't know, like Kobe Bryant and them who, like, they got a lot of the same mentors. Like, he used to go shoot for 3 hours before games, and if the camera's on, it's going to catch him.
Yeah, Michael Jordan would play quarters with the security guards. You know what I mean? Like, we've all got our process. I get it.
Oh, I love it. All right, where are we going next, partner?
Right. Injuries, man. All joking aside, a lot of injuries. Darrell Taylor taken off on a stretcher, right? Obviously, a really kind of scary moment and not a great scene there on the field. I mean, they kept coming back from commercial break and they were, still dealing with it. And obviously your heart's in your throat. But all signs since then have been very positive for Darrell Taylor and the injury. The CT scans have all been negative so far. I think there's still a little more testing, some MRIs, but really, like Pete even said, like he has a sore neck. And, he flew back with the team, and so he should be fine. So there's the update there. I mean, obviously, Lofa, if you want to comment, but I'm sure that had to be a kind of just a moment.
Yeah, anytime someone gets, carted off, especially when they undo the face mask and they, stabilize the neck, you just pray. Because, I mean, yeah, this is a game, everybody. He still has a family that he'd like to get home to, and so you just hope. And he's so young. So hopefully he's all right. And when he's healthy, he can come back. Because I saw a report or something. Someone said, "Oh, he might be able to play Monday night." And I'm like, yeah, I know how smart that is. Even if he passed all the tests, let him right back out there with a neck or a spine injury.
Yeah, nothing to mess with for sure. He was moving all extremities. He has feeling in legs and arms and all that. So, yeah. Alex Collins couldn't go late in the game due to some leg injuries. He's got some problems with his glutes. He couldn't go back in the game because of his glutes.
Don't skip leg day.
Man, we missed him, though, there at the end of the game, right? Like, that one really hurt. And they didn't really talk about it on the broadcast. We kind of found out about this one after the game a little bit.
And I wonder, did that, change our mindset? Like maybe not as confident running the ball, which I don't know why, because Homer ripped off that 25-yarder with that beautiful block by Jamarco Jones, just blasting MVPs out of his way. So I don't know. Maybe that played a factor into how we called it towards down the stretch.
Well, if he can't go, though, I mean, what if he's injured coming up here? Because we're running out of running backs. You got Chris Carson on IR, Rashad Penny, who's never been able to see the field. Now Alex might be out. You got DJ Dallas and Homer, I guess, right?
Yeah. It's all about the U. They both went to the U, right? Think so.
Yeah, they both did, yeah.
I hope so.
Damien Lewis also has something wrong with his AC joint in his shoulder.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Not fun.
He went out late in the game, and, I mean, maybe you could speak to that kind of an injury, Lofa. What does that mean? Doesn't sound good.
It's, you just lose. It's the AC joint, the one right near the rotator cuff, and you just, lose power and strength. And, I mean, it feels like when you do engage and there's no stability, and it feels like, someone's stabbing a knife into your shoulder.
Ugh. I mean, for an offensive lineman, I mean, I would figure your arms around the entire time.
Hands are kind of important.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll have to watch the injury report then as it gets closer to Monday night. Moving on to the defense, my man. Let's do it again. Fill in the blank. The defense was
strong. It held up. We had our miscues here and there, missed opportunities. Probably the better term, speaking of that interception that we probably should have had. But I think Pittsburgh finished 5 of 14, so somewhere around 30-ish% on third down. That's a big one. We're not getting enough turnovers. And, I mean, that's the thing. If you're going to be out there all day, and I've played, like I said, in college and even 1 year in the NFL for Pete, it's all about turnovers. And it's going to be a long day if you can't get turnovers. And I think it was one apiece because we had the fumble at the end. But without that, I said we have to get 3 and we have to play a flawless game, not turn it over if we want to win. But I was proud with the way the defense came out and fought, and I was proud how we deployed personnel, as I was talking about, the way we used Jamal. We used him to his strengths, the way Neal was in there and he battled, that tight end made a hell of a catch. He was right there on one of those big third downs. So it's Bobby and Brooks, 14 apiece. That's a lot of work, a lot of tackles. And, just hope they don't get worn down. We're only 6 games in the season. Bobby's passed, 80 tackles.
I hear you on the turnovers. We're going to get into the turnover that we did get, which, Ben just dropped the ball. I want to get into that play a little bit later, but I hear you on turnovers, but man, for me, it's the pass rush. Where is the pass rush? Check out this here. I got something for you.
Got a clip?
Carlos Dunlap. No,
send me some links.
No. Check this out. Carlos Dunlap, Carrie, Hyder, and Jamal Adams combined for 24 sacks last year. Okay. Guess how many they have through week 6 this year?
Oh, and Dunlap was only here for half the season.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about all of last year. Those players had 24 sacks last year, right? Yeah. Not just for the Seahawks, just that's how many they had. How many do those 3 players have through week 6 this year?
3.
0.
0? Are you sure?
0. They also combined for 29 tackles for loss last year. Guess how many they have after 6 games this year?
Don't tell me 0. Jamal had at least 2 in that game.
How many do they have altogether, you think? They had
3.
29 last year.
I'm going to go 3.
They have 5. I mean, dude, it's a pass rush. We got to get after the quarterback. Big Ben can't move.
No, he can't, but he doesn't hold on to the ball like a lot of other quarterbacks. He, I want to say like Kirk Cousin-esque, when he gets rid of the ball. He doesn't sit there patting the ball. He throws that shit away if it's not there. And I mean, that's why he doesn't give you a chance to rush.
Well, this is what's frustrating for Seahawks fans. We keep playing these other teams that get rid of the ball fast and don't take sacks, and then we watch our quarterbacks take a bunch of sacks when they're actually athletic enough to get out of the way, but even they can't. And then we play against these statues like Big Ben with some kind of big, I don't know, wadded up Huggies on his right side and his pants. Did you see that pad they showed? It's only on one side, made him look all unsymmetrical. It's strange. I mean, Big Ben's butt is already not good to look at. I don't want to look at it with – anyway, all right. But the point is that the guy can't even move, and we can't even get to him? What's the deal?
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing is like if you can't get to him, then, don't bring the pressure. Don't, you have to just be ready to sit on the routes. Well,
okay, then let's move on to that because here we go.
Yeah. Well, I didn't
have to change this headline this time, man. I didn't even have to edit this headline for our show.
Man.
We need to talk about Jamal Adams again. All right, we got a clip. Let's
talking about the best.
Here, you want it? Here you go. This one's for all of you.
Jamal Adams, I'm the best in the nation.
Yeah, let's talk about you, Jamal. Here, let's start with the clip. Go ahead, guys.
Well, hey, I want to say before we get to this clip. We're going straight to the clip first. Go ahead. So here's the clip. We're in cover 2.
Lofa sent us this, and he was like, I want to talk about this. So go ahead.
Okay, yeah, you see Collinsworth highlighted him. So we're in cover 2 right here. It's a hell of a hit, after the fact. But you have only one receiver in your area, and that's the one that's running away from DJ Reed. Now, Reed has 10 yards, 10 to 12. He forced the guy an inside release, so that should funnel him right to Jamal. He bends it back out. They call that the honey hole. If you ever hear of the honey hole, quarterbacks try to hit that. Ben goes through his 3 reads. Jamal should be at the top of the numbers. He gets very close, but then you only have one threat. Bobby's fine with him by himself with that tight end up the seam because that's what. I look at Ben. He looked outside, looked middle at Bobby. He's like, okay, no, come over. And he had that. And that you have one receiver, you have 2 guys over there. Like that should be a dead play. And look who's coming free right there on the rush. You see that? Mm-hmm. If we had that covered right here, is that Taylor? Yeah. Is that Taylor running the hoop right here?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That allows the rush to get there. But I mean, here, 1001, 1002, 1003, balls out. You don't even have time, to get your rush on. And Taylor's right there too, man.
So in your mind, I mean, Jamal's got to be moving over.
You got to be over. You have nothing else. There is not another threat near you. You have to get over. This was the only one where I was kind of, critical of him, saying, "Hey," but I do love the way he finished. He had some great hits. But right there, Ben. I mean, you shouldn't. What?
I could complain about that finish in real time when we were watching that game. When they show that replay, he hits DJ Reed harder than he hits the Steeler. Actually,
hey, shouldn't have been standing there.
No, I'm just
get down or lay down, bro. Anyways,
my problem with Jamal Adams is exactly what you're just describing, though. My issue with him, and again, I know that I'm just a former actor with a microphone in his face, but my problem with Jamal Adams is that he arrives late on the scene every time. They're after the fact every time, whether it's a tackle or an interception or a pass pickup or anything.
If that's Diggs over there, that's either a no throw for a sack or an interception, because you don't have any other threats. The only threat you would have is if that tight end bent across Bobby's face, Bobby would release him to you, and then Bobby would go to number 2 if there's another vertical. And it didn't happen. And so for whatever reason, it's just those are the kind of plays that drive me a little crazy. It's like, wait a minute, man. Like, this is we all have thirds. I have this third. Bobby's got the middle third. Diggs has the other third. Get to your third, and anything moving, you cover. And that was the only threat.
Well, I understand that. My issue with him, and I use the word spastic as we were watching the game to describe how Jamal Adams plays most of his plays. He arrives late and he throws his body around, and then he stands up and puts a fist in the air, and then goes back to the defensive huddle and like pounds his chest and it's like, dude, you didn't get there on time. You got there late, and you really didn't do much when you got there. It's like a lot of show and not a lot of go right now from a guy who's the highest paid safety in the league. He's got to step it up. I mean, dude, he looks better in his sweatbands than he does playing football right now. He's more of a sweatband model than a football player.
I was not very upset with his game. Just 2 plays, that one, and obviously the would have been, should have been interception where he
hit him in the face. Hit him in the face.
Yeah.
And then they got a field goal, and then, of course, it gets pushed to overtime and da-da-da. So if you take points off the board there, who knows what would have happened. Also, Lofa, when I was a kid, I dressed up as a Seahawks football player for Halloween one time, and I thought it'd be funny to stick a football right in the face mask and walk around with it like that. And that's what that play reminded me of. I never
just didn't stick, though.
That I would see it come to life. If he didn't have a visor in, it
would have stuck. Oh. But okay, let me go back because once a player, always a player. Now, at the time that we record these intros, so I'm the best in the nation.
Yeah,
that was recorded like in the summer, and he was the best in the nation right there.
Jamal Adams, best in the nation.
So listen, I don't fault him for that, but it was tough to watch because right next to it they have your rank, and when I think it was like 60 out of 70 something, and
dude.
So
Sunday Night Football threw him directly under the bus.
I don't appreciate
put it in
Sunday
reverse and then backed up over him, and then put it in drive and backed up or drove over him again. I mean, whoever the producer is at Sunday Night Football, to your point, because they do record them in advance. I understand that too.
Yeah. It's not like it was like yesterday or 2 days before the game. We're like, oh yeah, let's do an intro.
Right, but the producer, you think this is the first Jamal Adams game they've ever done? They've got other film of him. That producer could have easily saved him from himself, but they were like, you know what? And man, when they played that on TV.
Oh, man.
I mean, I got my dad in the living room. I got my buddy Bo, who's like a huge Seahawks fan, is over. Producer Katie's over. Mrs. Davern sitting there. When that came across the TV, we all just erupted in laughter. Like, it was just,
It's going to be okay. I got faith. I got faith in him.
Yeah. Okay. Can we talk officiating a little bit?
In a Seahawks Steelers game?
In a Seahawks Steelers game, far be it from me, but can we talk officiating? Because, man, okay, so the Ben Roethlisberger fumble play, I want to give Pete Carroll his props because for as much as I've yelled at him over the years for his ridiculous challenges, this is one that I didn't think he was going to win simply because you could see that the referee was like trying to talk him out of challenging it almost. And then you could read Pete's lips on TV where he said, I want you to look at it anyway. And the anyway is my favorite part of that.
Nice.
He's going like, I might be wrong, but I want you to look at it anyway. And then, of course, he was proven right. That was a clear fumble. Ben was clearly trying to bring the ball back into his body. I mean, that would have been the weirdest looking throw of all time.
Yeah.
But that was the only turnover we could muster, like when he dropped it by himself. But hey, whatever. We're talking about the officiating, and props for Pete for arguing his point, right? What were you thinking in that moment?
And then, they were just panning back and forth between the play, Pete, and then out of nowhere they just show Russell with his perfectly gelled hair, and he just sits there and he's got the same look he always has. And then he just goes, Fumble! And I'm telling you, I took it in slow motion, and it was amazing. I'll send it to you guys. But that was one of my favorite parts of the game. That, and then I had another. We'll get to the other fumble, or before the officiating the game, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Up the sideline with DK, but he was right there, telling Freddie Swain get on the ball. But yeah, the officiating, man. I mean, Tomlin had some choice words. Embarrassment was the term. Yeah. And I mean, if he feels that strongly about a regular season game, imagine the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Fuck out of here.
I know. Especially against the Steelers, but you
can cry about a fucking regular season game.
Well, there was just a couple things in that game. I mean, what about another holding call that goes against the Seahawks and potentially takes points off the board? Just another, right, because it was right after the fumble there from Ben. So we get the fumble, we get good field position. Here comes the offense. The first play, we bust it for a long run, and here comes a flag. And even the Collinsworth and all that, that was a pretty ticky-tack holding call, and we just keep getting, I'll say it, screwed by these calls, these holding calls.
Yeah, we also got to take some ownership and do better, though. So, I mean, officiating is not really.
Yeah. Well, what about
what I love talking about?
What about the final seconds, though? The big problem that Tomlin has, and it was weird because. So DK catches the ball. He tries to stay in bounds, and we're going to go over that decision in a second because he's got some Twitter, Shannon Sharp. So we'll talk about his decision to stay in bounds in a second. But he does. The ball gets punched out. Freddie Swain jumps on it. The clock is still running, right? Which, Freddie, thank you so much for getting on the ball, but now get up and let's go. Speaking of my living room, we're all standing up just like yelling like, spike it. So they run over, they spike it. But then the refs, they blow the whistle and they review the play before the spike, even though the spike happened with 1 second left.
I don't understand that because, he was clearly, it was a catch.
Yeah.
And so even if he's down, then, the clock's running, it's game over. So I understand Tomlin's gripe. They got it wrong, right?
Yeah. Well, and I thought maybe they were checking to see if DK had stepped out.
He wasn't anywhere near that sideline. He really wasn't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. My initial thought was like, that. But then when you saw it, it was like, no, he was. The whole thing was weird. What a weird sequence.
Yeah, no timeouts, right? It's just like the officials have to let that roll, and they need to get buzzed in from New York. Like, hey, like the Buffalo Wild Wings, we need overtime. Hit the button, but
I will say, though, that the referees did get it right in terms of Geno snapped that ball and spiked it with 1 second.
It was down with 1 second. It was absolutely.
We would have got that play anyway. So I understand Tomlin's gripe as you do, but we still would have been able to get that field goal chance.
Yeah.
Now, though, to the decision, though.
Well, quick shout out to Russell and Freddie Swain. Right. Russell was over there like, get on the ball.
Yeah.
And get up and take the ball over there. Russell was right there. That was pretty. That's vintage Russ, right? And then, shout out to Freddie Swain, he's becoming like one of these, and I don't want to give him too much praise too early, right? I don't want to jinx him. Like a Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse kind of guy like that, just always there, clutch, and he's just making great football plays and great decisions and impacting the game, even, long catches and getting out of bounds, doing awesome stuff. So shout out to Freddie Swain before we get to this next one.
Speaking of decision-making,
there we go.
DK makes the catch, and as you're watching the play in real time, my mind is, of course, like just completing the play in my head. Yeah. Like he continues right out of bounds, and we would have had like 8 seconds. Maybe.
I think 7. Yeah, we would have had enough to get one more play.
A chance at the end zone.
Well, one more play at least to move. One more quick out or something to get it closer for Myers at least, right?
Sure. Or like I said, at that point, you could take a shot into the end zone. If it goes incomplete, the clock stops. You kick the field goal. Maybe. Who knows? Potentially. But he decides to stay in bounds, and now he's got Twitter beef with Shannon Sharpe because Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe didn't like the decision to try to stay in bounds, and DK didn't like Shannon Sharpe not liking his decision, and they're going back and forth at each other on Twitter. Whose side are you on?
Not on either side. Let me see. You got it?
Here it is. So
stop questioning me, little boy. Shannon Sharpe's a grown-ass man. I don't know if even I want to fight him as a linebacker. I mean, you seen the dude's yoked. He's just as big as DK, maybe bigger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time. I mean, here, I'll read it. Here, let me set the stage for everybody. If you haven't seen it, Shannon Sharpe tweeted, "What was DK thinking? Why try to play hero?" And then he put an emoji of a football. So probably why try to play hero ball in that situation? And DK quote tweeted it back at him and said, "Stop questioning me, little boy," with the laugh crying emoji.
Yeah. So, I mean, Shannon's right. And I think, we all know that it's, but this is, and I did hear Pete talk about this, in his interview. It's tough when you have someone that's competitive. That's the ethos of Pete's whole philosophy is competitors. That's what, wins championships. Right. And, how many times have we seen DK, just break 2 or 3 tackles and go the distance. So, but in that situation, he's wrong. And, it's you got to get out of bounds. We were all thinking it, and I know that Pete's probably since talked to DK and just said, "Hey, man, that is a situational play that we must get out of bounds." But then, of course,
before in his first season, I remember him making the decision to stay in bounds at least one other time, and like just flat out kind of dropping the ball. I don't remember who it was against, but I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about, but he's done that thing before where he could step out, but he makes the decision. He gets it punched out. And he can't have that happen, especially in that situation. Come on.
Yeah. No. And then after you sent that one, it went on to resume checking. And I don't know if DK had checked Shay Sharpe's record or resume, but it's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things where like I understand DK like firing back, but it's, the guy's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I mean, I understand DK firing back too for sure. It's tough, man. Like, especially you make a bad play or a bad decision, and it ultimately didn't affect the game. So like, why respond is what I would say. But it's just tough. Because you're a competitor, and when someone says something like that, it's just like, okay, well, I'm going to buck back, right?
Well, and I mean, come on, if a Steeler jumps on that rather than Freddie Swain, the game is over right there, and we're having a different conversation today. So you gotta. And also, by the way, on a side note, just because I'm on Twitter and live tweeting, and by the way, at Believe in Seahawks, everybody, while you're watching the game, follow along. But because I'm on there, right after the game, all the Seahawks players, they tweet right away. It's like it comes in so
really?
It's so interesting. Yeah. Right down to like guys who aren't even starters are just
what do they say?
Like, just like usually it's positive stuff, just like, hey, we'll get them next time or whatever. But my point is I just noticed that they're right on social media immediately, and so I guess what I'm saying is like for DK, it's like social media is very important to them, and they use it obviously, and they're all about it. And so they notice when someone says something and Shannon Sharpe says something and he fires back. And that's sort of like the world that this generation lives in is what I'm saying. I find it interesting because, I'd rather just have them get in the film room and whatever.
And correct it than talk about correcting it.
Some of the guys I'm like, that got to Twitter a little too fast. Like, I'd like you to kind of maybe be with your team a little bit, maybe sit in that for a second. Like, whatever. Maybe they go straight to the locker, grab their phone. I don't know. I guess so.
I mean, different day and age, man. I mean, I'm just glad. I don't know if I call it a distraction, but I'm glad it wasn't around when I was playing. Man, I mean, there's some things you just can't give your energy to, man. Like, and that's, what does it do to go back and forth with someone on there?
Well, we've talked about, look, we were going to move on. I don't want to keep it going too long, but we've talked about how DK kind of lets people get in his head sometimes.
Yes, you have brought this up.
Right? And so is he letting Shannon Sharp live in his head a little bit too much, even on Twitter? Like for DK, it's like, whether it's on the field or off, like, let some of this stuff go and just become the superstar that we all want and know you can become, and like just quiet all this noise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was short-lived. He jumped back on and just said, "Hey, you're right." And I think he found out he had a gold jacket and was like, "Oh shit, this guy's the man."
Zone In CBD is the best CBD in the game, everybody. It's Lofa's company. ZoneInCBD.com is where you go if you want to get it. Sign up for a subscription. It shows right up your doorstep. You can also get some merch. Look at that nice T-shirt.
Like that?
Yeah. Use our promo code
BLEAV, BLEAV,
for 20% off your purchases at ZoneInCBD.com or pick it up at Bartell Drugstores. Zone In CBD. Let's just zone in on a Steeler who had a great game. It hurts me to do this, but I mean, dude, TJ Watt is a beast. And he basically ruined the end of the game for us on 2 plays in a row by him. The sack, right, on the previous sequence, on the previous series that led to the punt, and then obviously the fumble on the very first play when we got the ball back. I mean, you want to just tip your cap to TJ Watt for a second?
Yeah, he's a beast. I mean, that's why he's the highest paid defensive player in the league.
Yeah, man.
He's expected to do things like that. But yeah, that one, he was, it was like a double team and then a chip with the running back. And there's nowhere to go. And so he saw Geno step up and he came around and came in with heavy hands and got the ball out and won the game for them. But
what about the heavy hands earlier in the game, though, from him?
The what?
What about the punching earlier in the game?
Well,
the overhand and it was a little excessive. I mean, he got flagged for it, but
one of them was to the gut. Now that's just dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, because it wasn't even near the ball. It was just like, take this,
like a full-on uppercut.
Take this to the gut.
Overhand.
Yeah. And then he came with the overhand, which is the more traditional, way to knock the ball out. So I don't know. I can't say it's too dirty. I mean, I've done it before, so.
Yeah, but the overhand one, I mean, aren't you kind of supposed to get thrown out for throwing punches? I mean,
yeah.
Watch out. Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a fine coming his way, but when you win the game, you don't really care, right? And
well, hey,
he won the game with the other heavy hands, dude. And there's nothing he can't do. There's no true weakness in his game, and that's why he's always in the he will be in the MVP running race for a long time.
Superstar players make superstar plays, right? When the game's on the line, and
he showed up,
got that big contract, and he's living up to it. So, yeah, good for him, good for them. Whatever. Let's play our.
Yeah.
We can get out of
I don't really want to zone in on that. Let's talk about how Jamarco Jones threw him out the club. You want to zone in on something? You want to zone in?
That's true. You got him on that play.
I'll send you that clip.
Yeah. That's a wrap for us, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll be back later in the week to talk about the Saints game. We'll be joined by the host of Believe in Saints right here on the Believe Sports Network, John Hendricks. Did I get that right, Katie? I think I did. I lost my notes. Yeah, I nailed it. Yeah. So come back for that, everybody. SeahawksPod@gmail.com is the email if you want to send us an email. Sunday, 1 p.m. at Ryan House in Seattle, live and in person. Myself, Lofa, producer Katie, we'll have stickers and t-shirts and all kinds of stuff to hand out. Come by anytime. That's all I got. Lofa, break us down.
Ryan House on 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Ryan House.